I think my OBS just crashed when I clicked record. Oh. Okay, maybe. I hope it's good now. All right, let's get into it. So I already gave you some advice through Discord, right? Because of the cubing.
Yeah.
How did that all go?
So I've spent more than I planned, but still have a decent amount saved. I've got 40 blacks and 70 reds sitting around. On my weapon, I got 2-line attack. On my emblem, I got 2 prime line attack, 1 line of magic attack, which was the cruelest blue ball I've ever gotten.
Ouch, yeah.
And then I didn't touch my frozen secondary just because I'm a week away from Pinot secondary, so I figured not worth throwing anything at it at this point if I'm going to try upgrading something else.
Okay, sure.
And then I also got 1 boss earring to drop rates. And then I redid one of the event rings to drop rate as well.
Boss earrings, you mean the reinforced? No, not the reinforced.
Sorry, no, boss it. So Deus Itus.
Right. Okay, yep.
Yeah, it ranked up to unique off a random Meister cube, so I was like, well, guess I'm going for legendary.
Yeah, might as well, yeah. Okay.
So yeah, that's what I'm sitting at for now. I'm getting about 550 at D-Cup per hour. So I'm planning on having probably about 8 or 9 by the weekend. Because I'm sitting at 3 now, and then with weekly bosses and stuff, that puts me up to about 5.5, and then a couple more hours of grinding.
Okay.
So yeah, big things that I was looking for kind of guidance on. I have no idea how the new familiar system works. I haven't touched it since the rework, and being on an Adele versus my old characters is really disheartening because my old ones had all the old familiars and this has nothing.
Right.
But I know there's some kind of badge system. Is that just like enter 1 familiar from every area? Or like all the familiars from one area get you a badge kind of thing? Or
yeah, so if you have the drop, and then you have to like double click it into your collection, and then it'll count for the badge set. And then if you have all of the cards of one badge set enabled, then the badge becomes equipable and counts as a badge towards the quest, because there's like a quest like complete 1 badge for the 2nd slot, right, and then complete 10 badges for the 3rd slot.
Okay. So my Legion just hit 6k, but I don't have enough coins to upgrade it until like Friday.
Yeah, that's normal when you're blowing through it with the bonks and everything, right? You're getting a lot of levels.
Yeah. Yeah, I did a grind from 0 to 140 in 2 hours on Buck, which was the easiest Legion I've ever done. But yeah. So at this point, I've been ranking up. My Shade's almost 200. My DA hit 200, and I don't want to deal with getting it to 210, but I will at some point. I know like other ones are probably Jet. I'd have to bump up to 200, and Hayato.
Yep.
That's it for the crit damage stuff, right?
Yep. The other one, well, Kinesis Link is the other thing, but that one is
I've got that at 140 already.
Yep. So you're good.
I don't know if that's up.
It's
okay, yeah, it's
level
still
2 link,
120 something. Yeah, it's at 140 now. But yeah, at this point, I'm kind of trying to figure out what I should be focusing on for the 5, 10, 15. And like, I pretty much knew what to do up to this point, and progressing past this, I have no idea like where I should be spending money, what I should prioritize. I just kind of like do dailies, do some side characters, do Legion when I'm bored.
Yep.
Yeah. Not really sure how much longer I will be going hard at the game, but as long as I'm having fun with it, I have no issues. Just like doing whatever needs to be done to progress. Okay. And then if I stop having fun, I'll stop playing again.
That sounds reasonable. Sounds way too reasonable for a Maplestory player. I don't know if you're in the right game.
Yeah, I know. Oh yeah, and my heart is at 21%. That's the other one, but
yeah, okay.
Because I figured heart's not going anywhere, and this emblem isn't going anywhere, so I put a bunch on them.
Yeah. Well, heart is also the cheapest item to upgrade. It has the fused junk line, so you get the best return for your cubes there as well.
Okay. I finally started clearing Helix. Not every time, but most of the time.
Okay.
I'm just bad at mechanics and it's occasionally laggy. So I
Yep.
started getting drops on there. Is there a general rule about like ring versus pendant first? Probably the ring, right?
You usually just look at what you already have in the slot and what gives you the best upgrade, because eventually, like, the items by themselves aren't great. It's all about just getting the set bonus. So until you get the full set bonus, it doesn't really matter which one you get first.
Yeah, I have a couple belts at this point. I got 2 drops of the belt this week, and then I already had one. But no earrings and none of the other 2. So.
Yep. So you have enough for one purchase?
Almost, I think. Like by the end of the week, I will.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter which one you buy, because you won't really get them right if you. So that's one thing that you can work on though for 5, 10, 15 is that you can work on the lower level item and like Star Force it, or you wait until 30% off and you get it to 15 and then kind of there. It's kind of similar.
Yeah.
If you're like really close to completing the set, it's probably, even a 5, 10, 15 is probably worth doing it for. If you're not close to completing the set yet, it's probably okay to just wait and send a level 140 to 15 stars during 30% off, and then just sit on that and see what happens first, another 5 to 15 or the drops, stuff like that.
Yeah. So like the reinforced that I have at 15 now, is it worth just throwing it to 16 and kind of waiting until I get the earrings?
Yeah, that's probably what I would do, yeah.
Okay. The other thing is I'm stuck at level 10 for all of my professions, and I know that's basically all I need for alchemy, but I have no idea how I'm supposed to push to Meister for accessories. Like I don't know what things to keep, what things to junk. So right now, my inventory on all of my characters is just a shit ton of materials, and I don't know what I actually need to keep.
Yeah, The bags that you have, are those small bags? The mineral bags? And
those are just like small. I have a couple 20 production bags, but nothing great. I have a 20 slot herb, 20 slot production, and then just small mineral bags. So
yeah, I guess we can go through like a general list with that. Okay, so well, let's get the things out of the way that you had questions for, and then see what is left over. So when it comes to crafting for Meister, I do have a video on that, on like which things to craft.
Okay.
I can put it in the chat.
I can go look that up then.
Yep. So what you will need in terms of production stuff is emeralds, and then the basic spell essences, the green ones.
Yeah.
And Dex.
I have a bunch of those in my storage.
Okay, yeah.
I'm not just sitting on 11 of them. I think I have a couple hundred.
Yeah, you don't need a load of them, but will be a good idea to. Well, if you check a bunch of characters, you could probably bunch them together and get way more than you think you have right now. So that'll probably be fine.
Yeah, I have 600 in my storage right now. So.
Okay, nice. So yeah, Dex Crystal and Emerald, and then those things. And then, so that's to craft eye accessories that you can then upgrade. And for the upgrading, you need Philosopher's Stones. And that gives you
I've got
a lot.
Like 500 of those. So.
Yeah, that's when you get from Craftsman to Meister. And in order to get to Craftsman, you just need to make rings. Rings have the best experience per materials. So for that, you want the garnets, the power crystals, the dark crystals, and the black crystals.
Okay.
And that's basically it.
Pretty much everything else you don't need.
When it comes to crafting, usually I keep the diamonds and the aquamarines because it's really fast to level other characters' smithing to 10 as well. Like if you need to make a shield, for example, on a character, right? You could just make a bunch of arrows and just power through and get level 10 smithing very quickly. Pretty much everything else from smithing. Yeah, I guess I keep the wisdom and the lydium as well, but apart from that, you can get rid of almost everything else, like topaz. Like all of the yellow stuff you can get rid of. The mithril, the opal, the bronze, like the... Yeah. And usually after a while I get rid of all the ores as well, even if they are for materials that you need, because if you harvest enough, you'll have so many actual refined materials already that the ores are just filling up your inventory. And
that's what I've started doing. It's just grabbing the main, like, gold, mysterious, and heart. So
Yeah, exactly.
That's been way better.
Yeah, and then all the lower level
Okay.
stuff is basically all the gray stuff and all the bronze stuff and what is it? Like Orihalcon and
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
Amethyst, all that stuff. Okay.
Yeah, amethyst. Yeah, you can get rid of all of that. Yeah. When it comes to flowers, for leveling up alchemy, I'm not sure exactly which ones you need there. You definitely want to keep the juniper flower and seeds, right?
Yeah, I've been doing that just for the wealth and experience stuff.
I think you need the... if you want to make bags with alchemy, you can also do that to make bigger bags. I've done that for a bit.
Okay. Is it worth pushing past level 10 alchemy then? Or not really?
Well, only... Like, you can make bags and you can make the coin purses. I did that for a while just because I had like thousands of all the materials, and I was like, I might as well just make a bunch of inventory space for all my characters. And I just crafted bags for like weeks, and to almost have all my characters have a bunch of bags, and then I just let it deteriorate, which also took like weeks to deteriorate because I made so many items. Even with the decay, it took quite a while to get it back down to 10. Because well, once you reach 12, the amount of experience you need, there's still an experience that shows up on the screen, even though you can't really get it, but it's like 1.5 mil or something. And I think I was actually like a third of the way from that to... I was at like 500,000 or something, so it took a long time to decay all the way down. Oh yeah, and boss rush potions later as well, yeah. That seems to be only the people who really make those, or people who are doing like the hardest boss in the game at some time, at an early stage when it just came out. I don't think it's actually really necessary for anything, but it can give you an extra bump, you know. Like sometimes if people are like, oh, somebody DC'd, let's pop an apple, you know, at the end to make sure that we still kill the boss, something like that, where if you can get an extra edge to make sure that you still get the clear in the boss if something bad happens, or, you know.
Yeah, of course.
So boss rush potions, yeah, those can be made as well with alchemy, but that'll be a little bit later. But yeah, for Meister, those are mainly the materials that you will need, and most of the other stuff, most of the low-level flower stuff, you can all just get rid of, because, I mean, the thing with alchemy and with all the crafting stuff is that as soon as you make something that's higher level than what you want, even if it fails, you get a lot of material, like you get a lot of experience for it, right?
Yeah.
So as long as you have enough of like level 6 and above, you can just power through those lower levels, and you don't need any of the lower level stuff.
Okay. All right. That's easy enough then.
Yep. So for familiars, I do have a command for that as well. It's a lot of information.
Yeah.
But basically what it comes down to is that in the beginning, and when you're leveling Legion, and when you're just like, you know, before level 245, basically, that's like the early game of familiars. You just open up all the familiars you get on your character where you need something, and the only things you're looking for is percentage IED, 15% IED lines, any kind of healing that for you or for party members, probably small amounts in the beginning, and any kind of drop rate. Other than that, there's nothing really to look out for. So you're only opening like common and rare cards, and they're going to be a bunch of different cards. So if the cards are useless, afterwards you can extract them, and then that gives you points in the shop that you can use to either buy familiar essence, so you can revive 50% of your familiar gauge, so you can keep them summoned longer if you're training, like very long training sessions. Or you can use them to buy booster packs, which has a chance of giving you epic cards, and also has a chance of giving you cards that cannot be gotten anywhere in the game itself if they still exist. So some monsters have cards, but you can't actually kill them, or you can't actually get the cards from the monsters, and then the booster pack can do that for you. So sometimes it's nice as like sometimes it's nice as like a Hail Mary, where a boss either has a very low drop rate or doesn't drop it at all, but it's like the one pivotal monster in a set that if you get that one, you can get everything else very easily. I also have a link specifically for the sets, so that you can see like which sets are actually worth getting to and which sets are just like you can't get them, so they're not even in there. So I made like a little tier list of like these sets are worth going for as a result. Okay.
Okay.
Should load, but here we go. Yeah.
So like I got the stupid pink whale familiar. Is that worth like keeping, or can I dust that, or does it matter? Like once you have it entered in, can you dust them and it's fine, or do you need to keep them?
Yeah, no. Once it's once you put them in, then they are unlocked in the badge, and then they're fine. I don't even know if Does that one even is that one even part of a badge set?
I have no idea.
I don't even know.
It's just sitting in my inventory at this point.
Yeah, I don't think that one is part of a set. I don't think Princess No and those are part of a set. I don't think, but might be mistaken though, because there's some. Yeah, I mean this is all like GMS content anyway, right? So it's a little scuffed either way.
What? GMS scuffing their releases? Never.
No way. They would never do that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think those are even in a set. Yeah, so you're good on that.
Okay. As far as getting stuff to 17, so I haven't thrown a ton into most of my stuff. So my shoes are at 12, and they're only at 17 stat unique. So if I were to use some of my Japanese shoes and just try to push them high, is that worth it at this point, or would it be better to just try to push on the Abso already because it's that unique?
Usually I let that depend on. So in general, I think Abso probably up to 17 or 18 is probably fine. And then beyond that, I would push like all the potentials, all the flames, push CRA beyond 17, and probably push the accessories a little bit, just because of how much more accessible Arcane is at this point. So I wouldn't go super hard on Abso anymore, especially on an Adele who doesn't really struggle for damage anyway.
Yeah, no, I'm one-shotting in Esfera. I'm not worried.
And like for the boss parties, you'll you'll meet the requirements as well. So there's no need to like super min-max on that.
Yeah. What kind of IED am I needing? Because I have like 91 visual, and I think functional, I calculated it out to like 95, 94 or something. Is that good enough for most of the bosses moving forward? Like, I know 93 is the goal, but beyond CRA, do you want higher than 93 or?
Yeah, so CRA actually can be done at lower than 93 now, because the main culprit there was CVAL, right? Needing the 300% PDR. So you can actually probably do all of CRA with like a 90 functional is probably good enough, but you know, pushing a little bit beyond that will probably make things a bit easier. If you're moving towards Lucid&Will and hard Lucid&Will, and you can have functional by yourself of around 95, that's like a good number to be at.
Yeah, if I keep all my stacks up on the sword rush and everything, I think it works out to about 95, and then without that, just with Legion and Links and stuff, I think I'm at about 94.
I mean, that's without
with
the current buff, the event buff.
Sorry, go ahead. Oh, sorry, yeah, that is with the event buff, 30%. My bad.
Yeah, so do you have to calculate that you're going to lose that? Do you get anything from familiars at this point?
No, I haven't touched familiars on this character at all. So.
So getting at least one badge to unlock the second slot, and then being able to get two 15% ID familiars, they'll basically pretty much make up for the loss there. Then there's some other small sources. Are you working on the badge? Sorry, the medal, the Monster Parker medal.
Yeah. So I'm really behind on the Monday somehow, and
yeah,
then
one day just tends to
a month away. Yeah, because it would always be I don't play it Sunday night, and then I'd have to work Monday, and then if I didn't get home in time, it would just get missed. But yeah, I think I'm about a month away on most of them.
Okay.
Yeah, my lowest one's 40 out of 77, so
yeah, that's fine.
I guess that's a month and a half.
And then with 6K, your ID block will get a bit bigger, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not relying on any ID on your WSE, so that's fine. So then Superior Galax will come in and basically give you the ID you need, and then you'll be golden. So like I think the track for ID is fine.
Okay.
Even with the
I'm at 13 on my hyper. Is that too much invested on that, or?
So it's a bit high. Because I imagine one level lower in ID will probably net you quite a bit more critical damage, but I would probably keep what you have now until you can get those familiars on point.
Okay. Okay, so those have actually changed now. I don't actually need anything in the crit rate to be well above 90%, and then I've got the sharp eyes on the gloves.
So you went
And
down in crit rate?
No. So like, I don't need the crit rate hyper anymore.
Yeah. Well, that's surprising because you rolled out of crit in both your weapon and your emblem, right?
Yeah.
So is that also because of the current
really
set
sure.
bonus, the event bonus?
Oh yeah, that might be it. Yeah, I have 5% on there, but that still puts me at 87 without any buffs. So. Yeah, I'm not sure where I'm getting all the crit damage or the crit rate from, but
Legion characters, is it level marksman or a Night Lord?
No. Oh, the Night Lord went to 200. That's part of it. And then I added another link.
Yeah, did you go? Yeah.
No.
Which link skills are you using?
Oh, I put Phantom back on. That's what it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Figured it out. Yeah, those stats were without the Phantom link on. Is it worth getting Phantom to 210 for the link at this point, or?
At this point, it's a bit tricky to say, because like if you're maining an archer, I would say yes. If you already have a 6k Legion, then I think you're probably fine as is. If you want to push to 8k, even then, I don't know if the Phantom to 210 is that necessary. I like getting the Phantom to 210 early on, so that all the other characters can start off with 100% crit when you make them, and then they could just level very, very quickly all throughout. So, like, if you do want to push to 8k at some point, you could consider it, but other than that, I don't think it's very, very necessary, no. Eventually, you want to get to the point where you don't need the Phantom for a crit anymore.
Yeah.
So, which links are you using? You're using Phantom, or you're using the Beast Tamer as well, or not because it's only level 2?
Yeah, so right now, with my current setup, I have Phantom and level 2 Beast Tamer, and then just damage shit.
Okay, and that gets you to 87?
And that's all for my... yeah. 87, nothing in crit rate on hyperstats, 5% from VIP, and yeah, that's it. And I'm at 91.
Wait, 91? What is that from?
Like 91% crit rate. And then with the sharp eyes and back it up.
Yeah. Wait, so where does that last 4% come from? Is that a familiar or?
Sorry, what last 4%?
Well, you said 87 and then 91. Where's that 4 coming from?
I'm not sure. Sorry, I don't know what I was saying with the 87%.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm at 91 right now.
In your stat window. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, in my stat window is 91 at this point. Okay. And then Sharp Eyes puts me to 100.
Okay, cool. So that's good for now. Because like the two major things that I'm looking for is like, is your ID set up? Like, is the progress for ID set up properly, right? Do we need to keep that in mind with all of the equips and what we're doing with everything? And is your crit rate set up properly for everything that we're doing? Because if those two are not in order, then your damage just tanks, either on regular monsters or on bosses if both of them are not good. So if you only have 5% in the crit, but you are relying on the Phantom Link, as you're going higher and higher with the hyper stats, like once you're really like considering getting some stats past 10, at that point it might be a better idea to also just go back into crit rate and then just switch out the Phantom Link instead for damaging Link, because then essentially what you're trading is like 1 or 2 levels of hyper stats, which is probably like 3 or 7% damage or something, for a Link skill that gives you more than that instead. So you always want to look at like, you know, the interchangeable cost of, or maybe moving a piece in your Legion, right? Like moving one piece from crit rate into critical damage, and maybe that gives you just enough to get an extra link in, and then that link maybe gives you more damage than how much you're losing in boss damage by moving the piece around. So you always want to look at your hyper stats, your link skills, and your Legion board, and especially when you have 6k, you have a lot of room to put things in.
Yeah.
You want to see those as like interchangeable pieces that you can min-max around event buffs with, and also min-max within themselves to make sure that your potentials that possibly give you crit rate and boss damage and ID and those things, which is specifically your weapon and secondary and emblem, that those don't have to move as much because that is very expensive to move. So you're just moving those more dynamic things around the more rigid potentials. Okay, so it seems for crit and for ID that you're set. The last thing I will mention with the familiar, so once you go to the Moon Bridge and above, that's when you start getting a lot of the same cards, right? Because before it's cards from like all different areas and you can't really do anything with them. But if you want to rank them up, you need a lot of cards of the same card, and you can fuse them together and level them up by equipping the familiar. And then once they're at the max level and fully fused, then you could try to rank them up to the higher. But we have no way of re-rolling, like we have no cubes for them. So it's just re-roll and then reveal, and if it's something good, then you can keep it. If it's bad, you can choose to tier it up again to unique or to make another card, basically. Once you're really training in those areas, you'll get hundreds, maybe even thousands of cards very quickly.
I've seen your stacks in your inventories.
That's from I think that's from 8 hours. I got like 1,200 cards or some shit. Jesus. It goes pretty quickly. So you make a bunch of uniques before you know it. You're really hardcore grinding it out for those higher levels. But that'll also depend, of course, on your drop rate and stuff, right? So if you can get a little bit of drop rate on a familiar early on, then I can get you more cards, hopefully more chance of getting better drop rate, and then you switch out to the next one, right? And then hopefully that keeps like snowballing you into the realm of having the big item drop rate, which I only got recently, but that's 100% drop rate on just that card. So that's the equivalent of 5 lines of drop rate in your equip, so that's pretty massive. Are you familiar with all the stacking and stuff of how that works and the drop rate and meso obtain and meso drop rate and all that?
I know the meso obtain stuff, so I've got the 20 inner ability and then 40 on my accessories, and haven't tried to go for another one just because I was kind of waiting till after the session to really decide what to throw cubes at. I know the meso drop rate is just you need enough to guarantee that the bags are dropping each time. And Spider used to do that. But I'm not sure how it works now. Right. And then just for item drop, get it as high as I can.
Yeah, pretty much. So item drop also includes meso drop rate. So that's why after a certain point, you don't need specific meso drop rate anymore.
Okay.
The magic number seems to be like somewhere below 80%, but 80% seems to be the safe barrier to put it at. That if your total drop rate increase is around 80%, then every monster you're killing just always drops the bag, and then you're good and you don't need to look at meso drop rate whatsoever anymore. So I did make a command !drop rate where I basically explained it some more, and I also I show like all the numbers of what all the lines of familiars give, like what the percentages are, because they just say like a large amount, small amount, but that means different things depending on the rarity and depending on what the exact line is. So these are like the percentages, and then based on these you can see if another familiar is actually better than what you already have or if it's worse. So you can use that as like a guiding line. Yeah, and also it talks about stacking and stuff with coupons. So the reason that familiar drop rate is so good is that it stacks with the Legion drop rate coupons. If you want to double dip there to get like crazy amounts of stuff, it doesn't. But doesn't stack with other drop rate drop increase coupons like the blue ones that we get from events or from compensation sometimes. Those don't stack with familiars, but the green ones from Legion do. So that's why it's really, really good.
Okay, good to know.
Yep.
Because I don't think I was aware of that.
Typically, if you like double click a coupon and you already have another source, it'll tell you like you already have something on, right? So if you have a familiar on, you try to use the blue one, it'll tell you like, hey, this doesn't stack. But if you use the green one, you get the green light, it just goes.
Okay. One thing I was wondering, is Greed Pendant actually useful? Because it says equipment drop rate. Is that just equipment in like bosses and shit, or is that nodes and all that stuff?
Well, so I assume that it works on all equips. So the only equips that are really relevant that drop from regular monsters would be symbols. But
symbols would count as well.
Yeah, they go in the equip window, right? They're part of your arcane equipment.
Oh, symbols, yeah. Sorry, not droplets,
Yeah, so droplets would be in etc. and nodes are in use, so those won't be like changed by it. I guess some people have done, from what I've heard, when people did data mining for the item drop rate line, apparently the line item drop rate or like equipment drop rate doesn't exist. So some people have theorized that it just means equipment drop rate as well, which then furthers the question, if it is equipment drop rate, does it then go into the same cap of 200% total for drop rate from your equips, or does it go on top because it works there? Nobody knows exactly. So people just get it just in case.
Right.
Yeah, depending on how it works, just in case people get it, so that if it works like that, then they're getting it, and if it doesn't work like that, at least they're trying, and if something changes, they'll be right on top of it. The other thing is that when you're what I call like the hybrid gear, like when your gear that you wear always when you're in drop rate or in damage gear, so like the CRA, the Absol, all that stuff, when that gear is strong enough, that combined with your arcane equipment, like your symbols, and with your node stones, that is going to carry all of your damage. So what the exact items are that you get the drop rate and the mesoptane are shouldn't matter at all. And since that's the case, I usually go, like if I want to go serious, I usually go for a greed pendant just in case, just because of how it might work, basically.
Yeah.
So if you don't have like dedicated,
might help.
yeah, if you don't have dedicated legendary pendants already, I think it's fine to go for a greed pendant and then just try that. But if you already have legendary pendants, of course it's cheaper to just re-roll those first, and then work on those. Work with those.
Yeah, at this point, I've got 2 DOMs and then some mechs, and that's all. And they're all at epics, so
yeah,
might as well just work on the epic greed pendant. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Right, for the Dominator. So right now it's sitting at 15 and 64 plus 32, so 96. Is that worth thinking about transposing at this point, or would it be better to keep that and then just throw flames at the other one until it's decent and get it to 16 and transpose over?
Yeah, the pendant progression is always a little bit awkward now. So using mech and dom, and you have what, 2 backup doms you said?
1 backup.
1 backup dom. Yeah. Well, I think what usually happens at the beginning is that you want to keep the set bonus, right? So you don't even want to transpose too quickly. Yeah, this one is really good, and if it could, in some future, it could become a drop rate pendant or something that you end up with like a dom and a greed as drop, and then a transpose dom into Sweetwater plus a superior as the damage, something like that.
Okay.
Depending on how many you get,
Yeah.
if you need to rely on all of them as backups, if you want to, because we're thinking like long term going into the superior set, right? That's the goal of everything, right? So everything is set in to making that happen. So DOMs in that sense are very valuable because you can use them to high Star Force transfer hammer into the superior pendant, so that you don't have to risk rebuying those. So if you have enough backups and you're thinking like, I'm not going to do like 15 to 16, transfer them to 16 again, and then safeguard to 17 during a 5-10-15. If you have more time and more money by the time that you actually get the drops and are going to make the full switch to the set, and you have like maybe 4 or 5 Dominators, you could be like, okay, I'm going to try to see if I can get Dominators for like 20 or to 21, and then if that works, then transfer it over.
Okay.
That way you kind of bypass having to do the potential twice, right? Because you're never going to switch to a 17 and then be like, oh, I'll just leave it like epic or something. Like, you also wanted to get some stats from it.
Yeah, definitely.
So that kind of depends on like how long does it take to get all the coins, how long does it take to get all the drops. Like let's say you get really unlucky, you never get the earrings, and you have to buy the last 3 drops. That could take a long time, but by then you're probably making money over such a long period of time that you're holding on to for upgrades. You might realistically be like, okay, I'm just going to try to make like 2 21 sets and then just transfer it over to 20. And then just that'll be part of the move of getting your accessories to 20 and CRA to 21, so that you don't have to over upgrade on the Absol like we mentioned before, because the long-term move is into Arcane anyway.
Okay.
With that in mind, you have taken in mind the 5 bill for the droplets, right?
Yeah, so the droplets go on sale, I think, start of June, right? Or like last week in May?
Yeah, you have to
Something
get 20 out of 20, I believe, right, to be able to get there.
Yeah.
So this is
Yeah,
at least
so I'm
another
2 days
week.
behind on that.
Mm-hmm.
So
That should be fine. Yeah. Yeah, it should be
yeah,
like the.
so I'll get it in like a week or so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you have until the
Which
13th to buy them, if I remember correctly.
okay, then that won't be an issue.
Yeah. Yeah, so that should be fine.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you're mainly training on your Adele, you don't have a Kana farmer or anything like that. Then,
Yeah.
then
Like I
think,
have a Kana,
mm-hmm.
and I kind of wanted to start playing it a bit more just because it's got a Sengoku and a One Droid and all that stuff on it,
Mm-hmm.
and some superior and familiars and shit.
Mm-hmm.
But she's only 215 at this point, and it would be nice simply because a lot of the time I don't have time to grind D cup for 2 hours.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But at this point, it's probably not worth putting any money into it.
Yeah,
Not
really.
in any serious way, at least.
Yeah, I think it does pay for itself, but yeah, if you like if you have a half hour here, 30 minutes there, like 30 minutes here, 45 minutes there, 20 minutes here, you can make a decent amount of money, of course, with a Kana. Even at like once you start going into Lakaline, the rates are very good. But you'll need the Mesoptane, inner ability and the accessories and that kind of stuff. As long as you have some okay boost nodes and you know what you're doing, the map setup and everything, you get a good map, you can start making very decent rates to make up for it. And if you need that flexibility because you can't do those 2-hour sets, which is of course perfectly understandable, not everyone has the giant blocks of time just completely available like some needs do.
Yeah. Like at this point I do, but I'm not sure how my summer's gonna pan out.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah, so good thing would be that once you can like get most of the stuff to 17 and you can get your accessories at the point where they have the item and drop set is complete, then just by training and doing your dailies you'll make enough money, and then you can be like, okay, the next upgrade that I need to do on my Dell is going to be so much money. It's going to be like a year of saving, or I spend like 2 months of saving into the Kana and then speed that up and make it like 6 months of saving, is how you can like look at that basically. And then depending on how your schedule shifts, right?
Yeah.
Because if you're like, okay, I'm just going to keep playing the Adele, I'm just going to keep pushing it to 260 or some crazy stuff, right? Then you can just keep making money on the Adele and then it's fine. But, if stuff happens or you play so much that you run out of totems, but you still have more month at the end of the month, but you run out of totems, and then the Kana can step in, of course, to fill that gap.
I don't think I've ever hit the end of totems in a month. Only thing I have been doing is now when I do a Legion to 140, I do get a totem on it just to make it faster, because if I'm spending the time grinding, it might not be the most economic way, but it saves me time. So
Yeah, if you know you're not going to run out of totems anyway, then you might as well use them for something rather than let them expire.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So at this point, I'm probably just aiming for 17s on everything. So is it worth trying to push like any of the CRA gear past that at this point? Because the only stuff that I'm looking at is the Dom Pendant, the weapon, belt is at 12, tops at 15, hats at 12, and tattoos at 12, and then pant and cape are at 12. So is it worth pushing the 15th to 17 and then trying to do CRA past 17, or is it worth trying to get those 12s up to 17 instead?
With the money you have, it's probably going to be worth getting everything to 17. Yeah, the thing with the cape and the shoe, that's a thing to think about. Yeah, it is. They're unique with 2 lines, but that is, you can definitely get that back. I would throw that into the calculator real quick. By the way, to go back to, because now the Dominator is coming up again, right? So like the Dominator, if you do want to make it the one that you're going to be transposing, then 16 is fine, right? Because you want to transpose at 16. This flame is like, all things considering, for a level 140 item, that's a really good flame, of course. But like for transposing, people typically aim quite a lot higher. And I don't think there's any pressure to like feel like you have to transpose it yet. the rule of thumb I kind of use is that when you're trying to push things past 17 and when like everything, and when you are completely in the superior set, that's when you want to also be like thinking about transposing and having that be your next pendant. So unless you're like close to that, I don't think there's any pressure there to really feel like you have to work super hard on that. And it might even still be better to just flame some other stuff to make sure that all the other flame scores are better before you start because once you start dumping into the Dominator, you're going to be doing that for for a while, potentially.
Yeah.
So you don't want to make sure that you're moving everything in there, right?
Yeah. As far as the compensation flames, I've got... so I have 30 more rainbow flames on compensation.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not really sure if I should be saving that for arcane stuff or if I should blow that on something I already have. I know my weapon flame isn't great, 82 and 5 boss, which like I think is a tier 5, and then 5 damage, not 5 boss, which isn't great, but it's workable, and I'm excuse me, I'm one-shotting anywhere I'm farming anyways, so it's not a huge deal. And I think my CRA top and bottom are not at the point of re-rolling, like 108 and
those are fine. Those are definitely fine.
112. But then like the hat's at 84, and then between the Abso stuff, I'm not sure what I would reflame at this point.
Yeah, no, that's pretty...
Is it worth just kind of waiting until I get arcane stuff?
What is your cup at? Because I don't see that one.
Cup is bad. 40 and 6, so 58. I've just been kind of... I have this one kept, and then I have another cup that I just throw random flames on when I get it. Trying to get something better.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm just looking at the flame
advantage score for that. Like 90?
Just like a little bit under the CRA, basically. Around, like a little bit lower or like around there. Yeah, so between 90 and 100 would be like very solid to keep for a long time. So
Sounds good.
So probably like the cup and the helmet, right? That would be that, and then the next thing would probably be getting the other Dominator and seeing if you can maybe get that one further, or just going full in on this one. Because if the other one is just going to be Star Force fodder for Superior later on, then you might as well flame this one. But like this is the one you're using currently as damage right now, so it'll feel a little bit worse rolling over that flame.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always sucks when you spend a bunch of money and end up weaker than you were before.
Yeah, or you're like so close yet so far away, and it's like, well, I don't have what I need, so therefore it's like a 0. It feels bad because it isn't a 0. It's exactly. It's 90 something when you.
Yeah. Okay. So CPAP, I just need to start actually running and learn the mechanics on and not die. Most of the bosses I've been doing up to this point are basically just constantly attack and be Adele.
Be Adele,
and before that it was constantly attack and be hero, so I've never had trouble with the bosses before, and CPAP is just kind of a overload of mechanics and I have no idea what I'm doing.
Oh yeah. But I linked
I imagine I get that. You have your like CPAP tutorial video. I've been meaning to watch that.
It is done from an Adele standpoint as well.
Yeah.
And it's when it's a pretty long run too. I wanted to make sure that it was a long run so you can see all of the different mechanics and what to do. And of course, once we get the Neo changes with the Ether Guard, it'll be a little bit harder to do. But it's a good thing to get.
Is it worth
used to? Yeah.
Is it worth throwing the hyper skill in Ether Guard or?
No, usually now people use the Ether Guard for the green shield, right? So that you get like a huge shield when you get hit by stuff. You can just tank the bombs even in CPAP with that.
Oh.
Like if you take enough.
I did not realize that was that good.
Yeah. So like you throw up the shield, and if you take damage during the shield, it gives you the extra. Then when it ends, it gives you the extra. Like an HP shield at the end, which will allow you to tank like really big things. Yeah. I haven't played around with it myself specifically, but I know that it can definitely be used, and especially with the hyper skill, it gives you huge amounts of shield. People just tank through dragons and stuff like that in Lucid.
Oh jeez.
But that's gonna get reworked as well. So that and the other guard or either guard are both gonna get quite the rework. So that'll make it a little bit harder on the survivability for Adele, which they're not really struggling either way. So it's probably a little bit more fair to put them a little bit more in line with everyone else.
And I've been learning all the mechanics without using either of those anyway.
Yeah.
I just figured out how to time my ether guard like this week. So.
Oh yeah. Well. Good luck on the next 2 to 3 weeks. You can use it a bit more.
Exactly.
Okay, so I'm checking for the 1.3, 1.5 for this versus 115 to 18. Oh, 115. With no safeguarding. Yeah, it seems like it's more expensive to get like a 15 star to 18 to transfer over. What if you do the 16? It's 340 to 470. Wait, no, it's 16. 402, 516. Yeah, it seems like I think if you transfer hammer on like the cheapest way of like doing it to 15 or like to 16 and then transfer over into the Abzo and then push the Abzo to 17, I think you'll save like 300 mil versus just safeguarding on the Abzo now on average. But I mean, getting from epic to unique is about that as well, so it's about a break even.
Yeah.
So I think you're fine to just do it right now.
Okay. Then never safeguard the CRA, obviously, because
you probably have some backups, right?
Yeah, a few.
A few.
A few.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you would probably do it for the belt though, right?
Yeah, I've got a decent amount of clover belts, so I was thinking about just star forcing those up and transferring over.
Yep.
But yeah, at this point, one belt's at 12, and then I haven't touched the other one. So.
Yeah, since you do have backup belts, you could also just try one on the belt itself first. Because there's always a good chance that it doesn't blow, right?
Yeah, first time I told myself that, I blew up my one and only CRA weapon on my hero, and then had to go back to a level 30 weapon.
Yeah, well now we're in a situation where it's a sensible decision because we have backups, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so like if you try the superior and it succeeds, you save a lot of money. If it doesn't succeed, you do the pink bean belt and then transfer that over, and then all you lose is epic potential, and you're fine.
Yeah. Okay.
Which I mean, I don't. Maybe even one of your pink bean belts is already epic, so you don't even lose that. Potentially, I don't know.
No, they're all common.
Okay. So. And then the other thing would be like the. Yeah, for the earring, I guess you just like bump it to 16 and just hold on to that.
Yeah.
The other earring that you're using for drop or mezzo, you can elect to get that one to 17 because you probably will be using that for quite a while.
Okay, might as well.
Yeah, might as well. Because all of the little bit of weapon attack you get from getting up to 17 from all the items together is really, 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 really nice.
Yeah, it adds up, definitely.
And then the tattoo. Do you have enough Dineros for backups for tattoos? Like, do you?
At this point, I've got enough for one tattoo. I was saving up to get Lith Harbor.
Yeah.
Because right now my boat's at a level 2 sailboat, so I was planning on getting it to a dreadnought eventually.
Yep.
But yeah, at this point,
it's expensive.
It wouldn't be a huge deal to just grab the tattoo if I needed it. So.
All right. Well, let's hope you don't need that one.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, push that one up to 17 probably.
Yep. That sounds like a good idea.
Okay.
And then the weapon.
As far as the totems, is it worth getting the U-Garden stuff over the Afterlands totems?
Well, if you already did the work for Afterlands, I know U-Garden is like a monthly reset too. You have to go farm them.
Yeah.
The set bonus is pretty nice. Some people do like the first 2 and then use the strongest one from Afterlands, I think, and then that's a little bit stronger because the first 2 are pretty easy to get as a drop. In the grand scheme of things, that feels like if you really want to do that, you have my blessing, but I wouldn't like advise going out there and doing that. I feel like there's so much other stuff you could be doing in the game for like better gains on your account than that little bit of min-maxing on the totems.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, if you're really into it, then, you know, if that's fun for you, please do it, right? Try to do the
Not
things that
really.
are fun for you. But if it's not, then yeah, no. Then I think it's fine to just completely let that piece of content go, I would say.
Okay.
I try to forget.
And there's really
pieces.
nothing else but
yeah.
like there's nothing between that and Dark Lords.
No, exactly. There's some events sometimes that had some, but yeah, no. Other than that, it's just events.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, on the one hand, it's kind of disappointing, but on the other hand, it also means that it's something you don't have to worry about. So that's sometimes also nice because there's already so much to worry about. So I usually take those things as a blessing, where it's like, okay, well, I don't have to worry about that. Cool, and I can focus on other stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So for damage rings, I'd probably be wanting like Kana, Meister, Superior, and just another filler ring, basically, or
yeah, reinforced is typically what comes in there.
Okay.
Those really just come online once you go past 17, which is, you know, spooky when it comes to the rings and everything.
Yep.
Well, basically all of them. Kana treasures you need backup from Princess No. Master you need to craft a bunch, and then for the other ones you just need a fuck ton of Collex coins, which is never a super fun time. You know, or if you get a bunch of backup Kana treasures and your Kana treasure actually goes to 20 or to 21 and you'd still have backups, then you can do another Kana treasure and transfer that into the superior, right? And then you don't have to buy backup superiors. So that's always a good time. And then you won't have to craft Meisters either. So make sure you do the Princess No weekly and just keep getting as many as you possible and always keep going, because that can get all the pressure off of Meister rings. And then the beautiful thing about that is as well, because Meister ring resources are shared right in your account. If you ever want to make another character and you want to go for Meisters there, well then maybe you have a bunch of extra Meisters you can make because you were able to rely on kind of treasures on the other character, and that makes the other character that hasn't done Princess No a bunch, they can just brute force their way through it with Meister rings. So that way you also have like account value in that. The other thing you can use until then is, of course, with Neo we have the big rings coming. So the Tenebrae, Glory, and Awake rings, those are huge.
I was thinking I'd probably put one of them on here, and then probably 2, probably on the Kana, because my hero is already stupidly kitted out for how weak he is.
Yeah, they're great for Kana. If you're trying to get your Kana online as like a farmer, they're basically equivalent to like 18 or even higher Star Force rings for the Kana. So it's like really, really, really good for those.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I actually enjoy playing Kana for the most part. I enjoyed the old Kana a bit better, oddly enough. But, like, the new one's fine to play. Like, it's enjoyable. So, I actually did want to play it as a side, and the fact that it was a good farmer character as well was just kind of a bonus. But yeah, at this point, I enjoy magic floating swords everywhere.
That's
the one I've been focusing on.
They're pretty nice, yeah. So you have a total of 5 rings that you can get during Neo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. When mentioned
There's
3 is that
different ones.
Exactly, 3 different ones and 5 in total. Yeah, in your account. Exactly. They are very expensive though, but like if you're trying to get them on a Kana probably will also be the primo character to be able to point cap with and earn those coins with to be able to purchase them in the first place. So like, if you're trying to get a Kana farmer online, Neo is great. If you get those 3, then that's a very, very, very solid foundation in both damage and access to drop in Mesogear.
Okay.
Do remember though that with Neo also comes the removal of the experience penalty on death. So if you're going to be farming with the Kana is going to have to move up to higher level areas, which does mean, you know, accessing arcane power symbols, doing dailies, because otherwise their damage is going to fall behind a lot. And as the further they go, needing a decent amount of nodes as well to keep the final damage on the skills going.
Mm-hmm.
So
and if there's someone I'm trying to like main or partially secondary, that's not a huge deal. It's just something I should consider as I kind of move forward with the Adele, right?
And eventually the Kana will, make back the nodes that you spend on it and then some, right?
Yeah.
And then that can feed, once you have that online, that can feed into any other character you want to start playing. And then immediately, if you have a character like, I'll just drop 100 nodes, see if I like it. If you don't like it, it's whatever. If you do like it, then pump like another few hundred into it. That kind of thing.
Is there a faster way to open nodes? Because at this point, I just click it once, wait for the stupid animation, and then wait again, and it is hell.
Oh, yeah. So if you're just opening a few, if you hold down escape, it speeds up the animation. But even faster than that, if you have a bunch of them, you put them on a hotkey and just hold down the hotkey. And it just blows through them. Yeah, blows through them very quickly. It doesn't even play through the whole animation, just like open, 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 like at that rhythm almost.
Oh, well, shit.
Yeah. That saves you a lot of time. Yeah, that's gonna save you a lot of. If you're trying to open like dozens or like hundreds, yeah, that's gonna save you a lot of time.
Yeah. Okay. Good to know.
Yep.
As far as the boost nodes go, I've got 3 out of the 4 prime, and then I have kind of a 5th one that's just pumping up what I'm missing. So I'm still waiting to get my Bloom, Cleave, and Forge node sorted out.
Yeah, you've got one tripled, right?
As long as it's the magic dispatch is way over 60 at this point.
Yeah.
And then,
that one's on
Ether
4.
Forge is too low.
Alright, okay.
Yeah, like it's way overstacked, and then, because it's 3 in my prime nodes, and then it's on the extra one that I have.
Yeah,
so.
Okay.
But beyond that, I swapped off the weapon aura for conversion overdrive, because after listening to you talk about the, you just end up kissing yourself in all of your mobbing, I realized that's basically what I was doing, and then I think in the bosses, the conversion ends up doing more damage than...
Yeah, when you max out
IED.
weapon aura, it's really nice, because final damage and IED, and the uptime gets really, really good. But at low level weapon aura, it's very situational at low level. And then if you already have swords flying around, the things are already dying,
Yeah.
As
far as like the
do you move in Sharp Eyes?
Eyes?
Yeah, when do you move in Sharp Eyes?
So I have it on my gloves at this point, so I was just kind of wondering, is it worth leaving the gloves at unique with the Sharp Eyes, or should I try to push them to crit damage and then swap Sharp Eyes in for something?
Yeah, that second option is definitely what you want, but make sure that L is the stuff of 17 and all of that is done right. But critical damage will be a huge improvement. But then you will need the extra. You will need the extra slot here. Yeah, it's a bit tricky because you have a lot of stuff that's useful very early on.
Yeah.
But consolidating the boost nodes will give you that extra slot that you're looking for right now.
Yeah. And I think realistically in a boss, I could always swap out the Storm, because I don't think it's a huge source of damage in a boss fight.
Yeah, at level 1, it's not as... It's fun lazy mobbing. You just jump around the map and everything just dies around you. Yeah, at level 1. I guess, during the bind and stuff, it's just another thing to press. Because I'm thinking with your boost nodes, what's the right way to go here? Because that one is 16. You have some high levels with dispatch, because when you extract you're gonna have to extract one of them, right? And when you extract, you lose a lot of efficiency on there. So I'm trying to see what is like, because the 15 and 16 you want to keep those the most. So it's dispatch and cleave done, and then you have 2 of those.
The 13, the dispatch, rain and forge is the one that's going to be getting removed once I fix the top right one.
Yeah, so getting rid of the 13, and then the 10 will have to have the dispatch, the magic dispatch switched by Ether.
Yeah, either on the 10 or the 15, the two on the top. Either one of them needs to lose dispatch and gain the Ether Forge.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter which at this point. I just need to roll one of them. So I've been opening a bunch of the Ether Blooms, but at this point I think I might just start opening Hunting Decrees and
might as well.
I get lucky there.
Yeah, exactly, to even it out a little bit more again. Yeah, nodes are just a little bit tricky in the beginning. But once you get those set, then you're golden. Then you can start focusing on the skill nodes. Heard that your Infinity Blade is really, really good DPS. Like a lot of your burst comes from that one.
Yeah.
So that would probably that and maybe Holy Symbol, right? Like leveling those up a bit. Get those drop rates up a little bit as well, and the experience up a little bit. That's always nice for Holy Symbol.
Does that actually increase as you rank it up?
Yeah. That's one of the few decent skills that's actually good to level up. All the other ones is like, +1 all stat every 5 levels and like a little bit longer duration. But Holy Symbol actually goes up in drop rate and in in experience. Yeah.
Oh shit! I had no idea.
Yeah, I always kind of Google.
Yeah,
I always Google the skills myself to kind of like see what's going on. So at level 1, what level are you at now? 5? 3. So level 3, it's 21 experience and 15 drop rate, and then, like something realistic would be like getting to level 20 or 21 or something, and then it's at 30 experience and 21 drop rate.
Okay.
So that's pretty nice. But yeah, not every level it goes up. Typically it's like it goes up every other level, and then the other one goes up. And some levels, like nothing increases. Like if you go from level 6 to level 7, the experience and the drop rate both stay exactly the same. It's like, ugh. It doesn't feel very good, but at a certain point, usually I stop because of the efficiency going down. And like at level 24, it gives the same as at level 25. So it's like, it's whatever. Usually around that point is kind of when I stop leveling them. And then, because you open them sometimes later anyway, so there's no point to actually get to 25, because then you're just going to start extracting again later. So usually...
exactly.
I never really level past like 23 or something. That's usually when I start working on the next stuff. Or, holding for the Kana, or holding for another side character, something like that.
Yeah. How high should I be pushing these boost nodes, though? Like, ideally, like, the end game is to get them all to 25, but... realistically, like, should I stop at the point where I'm at like 20?
Usually I get them to like 22, 23, something like that, if they're there, and then I start working on the skill nodes, and then slowly over time they'll just level up as well and get to 25. And it's kind of a cheat because you don't really need them to be at 25 immediately, but when they're still leveling up slightly, you're still gaining more final damage as you're leveling, and it's going to make your leveling still feel like you're gaining more and like you're still growing more than someone else who maxes them out immediately, but then hits that ceiling immediately, right? And then the only thing you're getting from leveling is like
progression.
You feel it a bit more. So the way I kind of see it is that if you gimp yourself a little bit more early on, but you can do it with that, then you still have more room to grow than someone else who, if someone else can barely do it, but they've already capped out, then they are going to have a harder time later, and you can make it a little bit easier for yourself later by like taking off the training wheels, basically.
Okay.
Is usually how I do it, but that doesn't work for everyone,
Yeah. I mean, I've been enjoying the fairly fast progression from the compensation, but like actually being able to see the growth over time.
And it's an Adele, so that always helps.
Yeah, like one of the hyperstat setups I had for just training ended up breaking 10 million on my minimum damage, which I know means nothing, but is the first time that's happened, so that felt kind of cool. But,
yeah, that's nice.
Yeah. Is it worth re-rolling the IA at this point? Like, I know my bottom 2 lines are trash, but the 20% meso, like at this point, if I'm not having trouble killing anything, is it worth re-rolling at all or not really?
No, I would keep the 20 meso for sure. Because, you're not having trouble killing, like bossing-wise, you're probably completely fine as well. As long as you don't have an issue with those two, then Meso is probably the best ability, because it just helps you progress faster. What some people
Yeah,
might
like,
even
I can
do
get-
is like lock the meso and maybe get like a one line of drop rate on the other two, and then just hold that forever.
Oh, okay.
I would just
There's an honor weekend coming
yeah.
up, right?
Yeah, set
The
like
week after 5, 10, 15, I think.
Yeah, I think it's pretty soon. Yeah. Just to get a little bit of, but you'll probably get like 4 or 5% drop rate. So you'll have to, think for yourself. Like, how long are you going to keep that? Is that going to pay off?
Yeah.
So like endurability is changing in KMS, where the rerolls will be cheaper because you won't have to lock your rank anymore.
Oh.
But that's like
That's sweet.
months and months from now. So if you're, if you're still playing the character, still playing the game by then, you'll be able to build up a lot of honor experience now by just settling on what you have now. Just build honor experience, build, and then when that stuff comes out, maybe you're at a point there where you're not leveling as quickly anymore. Maybe you're relying more on your money from your kana anyway at that point, and then you can think like maybe I want to min max more for bossing rather than having a setup for mobbing like this, and then do the full rework then.
Okay.
If you do get circulators, I would always just try them, right? Because regular circulators, because you can always choose the before if you don't like the outcome.
Yeah.
Because I got on my Adele, 2 of the really good outcomes that I got was both just from circulators, from random rewards and stuff. So I wouldn't buy them in the shop like for currency, but if you get them from the daily rewards or whatever, I'd always just try them just as like small Hail Marys just to see if something cool comes out.
Yeah. Just try your luck kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I got my
Okay.
10% cooldown skip on a second line from that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is that kind of ideal for Adele?
Yeah, I think you actually
The
want it on your
cooldown?
top line for the 20% line. But right now what I have is I think 19 meso, and then with 10% cooldown skip and with some drop rate on the last one. So like that full combination.
That's pretty solid.
Yeah. So 5 item drop rate on the last one, 10% cooldown skip on 19 meso. Because with one of the circulators, I got the 10% cooldown and 5 drop, and I was like, that's pretty nice. And I just re-rolled the top line, took me like 3 attempts, and it was like, boom. But before that, I also had with the circulator, I had 20 boss and 10% crit. So it was kind of like, the other one is like specifically for bossing, but I wasn't really going to boss with it specifically. And the bossing I was doing, I wasn't really struggling at all because of my Legion and my Lynx, right? It picks up all that slack. If you have over 8k Legion, then there's so much extra power in that already. And Adele by itself is just so strong. So I was like, well, all the time I'm going to be training, doing dailies and leveling, all of that time I'm going to be making way more money over it. So in the end, that's going to be worth it. Yeah. But eventually, I believe eventually you want to, I think 20% inner, 20% cooldown skip. And then 20 crit, 21 attack. And the 20 crit is basically so that you can make sure that you don't need any crit links. But if your Legion is big enough, then you can put crit in your Legion board, of course, and then you don't need the crit here. Then you could go for 10% boss or, 8% damage to debuff monster, something like that. Because you have your, what's that debuff again?
The Grave Proclamation.
Grave Proclamation, yeah.
IED stack, yeah.
Mm-hmm. That and, of course, the Explorer Mage, right?
Yeah,
Debuff
and
that's always on
also the Noble Summons, the Sword Recall.
Oh, yeah.
Puts a debuff on them as well.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
Surprisingly, a lot of debuff skills that I didn't realize until like this week when I decided to actually read the skills on my character.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing with Maplestory these days, is that a lot of classes you can kind of just like roll your face on your keyboard and get to 200 and you don't really know what your class does. And that's one of the things why I'm doing Project CRA, because I kind of want to make sure that I know more about all the classes, what they kind of are capable of. Especially when I'm trying to rank.
Watching your Kinesis.
Yeah, that was a learning curve for like the first run was like, okay, I need to pace myself because I'm trying to do too much at once. But then the second runs were surprisingly way better, and only one of them wasn't the first clear on the second run. So yeah, that was nice.
Yeah, I was surprised how fast that went from absolute shit show to completely cleared.
Yeah, for some classes it's like 4, 5, 6 attempts, and then for others it's just like one frustrating attempt and then a real Beast Tamer is gonna be interesting.
Yeah. is 175 damage and 150 boss, is that good, or should I be aiming for higher than that realistically? Because like right now I'm at, like I said, 175 damage, 150 boss, 50% final damage, and then 56 crit.
Yeah, some of the boss damage and the damage that you have is stack reliant, right? So like stacking Solus, if you're using the Cadena link, those only pop up once you have the stacks built up. So between those two already, if you get Solus to level 3, of course, that can already be 28 extra % damage just between those two. More than what you're seeing. So when you look at the progression grid, I think what you're aiming for is like a total of about 400% damage.
Okay.
As like 100% uptime functionally. And
that's not counting the final damage buff and the crit damage? Like that's
just damage bonus and boss damage together.
Oh, okay,
yeah. So right now you're you'd be like close to 350.
Yeah, 325.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, you still have to get the superior boss set, right? That's a 30% right there. And then
DA's hitting 210, so that'll be another 5 there.
You'll be building out your Legion a bit more, so there'll be some more boss damage coming in from that. Like a few link skills, like maybe the Demon Slayer one, right? That guy could.
Yeah, I've got that at 140. I could bonk it, but
if you want to, and then the passives when you're using them, of course, right? Those will get added up together when you're in combat. They'll basically have 100% uptime. You just can't really see them in your stat window. And once you work on your secondary, there's a very high chance you'll end up rolling like a line of boss damage on there. And then you should be fine.
Okay. As far as the Terra burning, the advice I have heard is marksman, because I still need that, and it's horrible to level up to 200. And then for the second one, Arc is basically free, and Aaron is basically free, so I didn't think it was worth burning either of those again. So I was thinking maybe burning an Evan, because I have the 140, and like I didn't hate getting it to 140, but I'm also pretty sure I did Amber Waves up to 140, so
that's very different than
yeah, exactly.
That's hard to hate. Amber Waves,
so I don't know how bad Evan is to 210.
It kind of depends on what playstyle you enjoy. I'm not like don't enjoy Evan very much. I did it like I powered through it with horrible gear. I noticed afterwards. I don't really even know how I managed to do it, but I got through it that way. But I think they're a very good candidate for Terra Burn, specifically because the level 3 link skill helps your account just so much in your overall experience. Because there's not only is it like really good and extended duration, but there's also 2 events that stack with the duration, right? Because you have the during a haste event, typically you can use nodes faster, and sometimes there are sunny Sundays where you get 100% extra bonus experience from runes. Sorry, did I say nodes? I mean runes. And sometimes you get the bonus experience from runes on Sundays. So with both of that even stacks and make the Evan link skill even better. So to keep the option open to go for 8k Legion at some point, having the Evan at level 3 is very, very just incredibly valuable for that.
Yeah. Like at this point, I'm wanting to move out of the crit rate skills, so worrying about the Phantom up to 210 is probably not a huge deal. Is Lumi to 210? Like if I was really shy on IED, I'd probably want to push that, but at this point, is it worth worrying about, or
no? Probably not worth.
Things?
It's probably good things to. Like what I did, so like 6k everything, right? And then you basically have 140 everything, and then a few 200 and above, and then you're at 6k. And then once you want to go for 8k, that what I did then is do just basically go back into the top of the list, like the links Legion list, and just start from the top again and get all the level 3 links, and then work my way down again. So then eventually Lumi does, is like near the top, I guess, because it's the bossing ones. But you do all the experience ones first, so you can do the damage ones faster, and then once you have those, you can do the bossing ones faster, and then it all like kind of trickles down into just helping your main account even more. So you eventually get to Lumi, right? Because of how IED works, it's better to gain 5% on a stack of 15 than just 5% by itself.
Yeah,
so
an extra 5%.
So that does make it useful for late game and for the end game. But in general, Adele is not really starved for IED whatsoever, so it's not a high priority now.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was kind of shocked once I started looking in all these extra sources of IED that I have. Like, Grave Proclamation is 10, Hyper Skills 20, Boost Nodes is 20, and then the Sword Rushes is another stack of 10.
Yep.
And yeah, I didn't even realize I had all those on top of the visual ID.
Yep. And then you don't even have the familiars yet. You have the Explorer Mages with another 9. Once you keep that stacked.
Oh yeah. I only have 2 of them. I've made the Fire Poison, but that was going to be the thing I worked on today and tomorrow to just keep going past 6K.
Okay.
Yeah. I wanted to try to get one of everything to 140, and I think I'm missing like 2 or 3 Explorers, Battle Mage, and Kaiser, and then I think Xenon and Zero, and I think that's pretty much it.
Okay. Yeah, usually those are like the common names that people leave to last, and like the Explorer Warriors typically are like. But since you played a hero before, right? So
yeah,
so you probably
the
have
only one I'm missing is Pally. But the Link skill's so bad.
It actually has saved me like a few times. It's really weird, but in general, it's not very
Really?
useful. Yeah, like a few. Well, like you get hit by something when you are you just use a potion, so you can't heal. But then the skill can activate and heal actually. So then sometimes it actually can be useful. But yeah, the cooldown on it and everything, it's definitely not a high priority. But the Paladin does give a nice chunk of strength though, right? So for your Legion, it might be still nice to work on that.
Yeah, all of my strength characters are super easy to get through Legion at this point.
Yeah, that was good. And I mean, if you have a main Legion that builds on intellect, there's also a lot of intellect Legion buffs, so that usually is a easy one to do as well. Dex and luck aren't so fortunate with the Legion buffs, sadly.
It's okay, no one plays archers.
Yeah, no one cares
So it
about those
doesn't matter.
anyway. Yeah, good. Fuck 'em.
Exactly. Right? Okay. All right. Well, I think I pretty much have a good idea of what I should be focusing on then. Get shit to 17. Don't worry too much about safeguarding because I can replace one thing. But if one thing blows up, safeguard the rest. Don't safeguard CRA. Always safeguard the weapon because that's the only one I have. Rings will come when I get them. Earring to 16, wait for a superior drop, Dominator to at least 16, and then kind of decide from there. Belt, same deal. Don't blow it up twice. And then kind of like just beyond the 5, 10, 15, just like dailies and grinding, that's pretty much it. Like, should I be trying to push past 17 or should I be working on potentials at that point?
Yeah, so I think they're mainly going to be potential work until you have at least like 2 lines on everything, 2-line legendary on everything. Unless of course it's like specific items that you know you're going to be transfer hammering into it. Sometimes even just 2 lines unique can be good enough, right? Like the more money you can save there to get decent rates in the short term will help you get to the point where you can get to the later stages where you can avoid those intermittent upgrades and go for the big ones immediately. That will in the long term always just save you more money.
Okay.
So
it's not really worth playing around getting the PAP mark though, right? Like,
no.
I should basically just assume I don't have one until such time as I do.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't forego a whole bunch of progress because you might get the 1 in a million, or like a 1 in 100. I don't know what the actual rates are. I just know that it's bad and that people generally just don't get it. Yeah, because
And then
that
that one
and
asshole gets it on his first clear.
yeah, it's possible, but then that's like a good, but that's not the norm, right? You don't want, because the other thing
Yeah.
is that if you actively are kind of planning for it and holding out for it, it's just going to feel that much more disappointing every week when you don't get it. And then I don't want you to set yourself up for feeling bad and for getting disappointed extra every week either. That's just not a good, this is not a good time.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so if you go through your equipment set, is there any piece where you still have any questions, or where you like post 17? Because it's mainly going to be like, depending on when the next step comes. One thing that within that, I think that in general people overestimate their or underestimate the going past 17, overestimate the risk and underestimate the gains versus going for the safer, I'll just keep queuing. But then all that money that goes into cubing, if that had gone into Star Force, the total gains would have been way better. So in order to capitalize on that, you need backups. So that's when it's like do dailies is kind of the meme. But the reason that you're doing that is so that you can have backups, so you can lower the risk when you are going past 17. Is and lower the cost as well, right? Because the more backups you have, the less you have to safeguard, and then the more you can spend the money directly on the items rather than on the insurance for not losing the items.
Yeah.
But you'll notice once you go to 17, you get a lot from Star Forcing.
Yeah. Is the Star Forcing past a certain point better? So it's always 140 transfer to 150, but I thought the whole idea was you didn't want to go too high because the higher tiered items gained more from Star Force. Is that at a certain range, or
that's only a thing when it comes to transposing, is when that comes into play.
And that's because you get the extra star, or
because you get the stats of the star get locked onto the item even afterwards, and then that can overtake the extra stats you get from doing it at a higher level. But when it comes to transfer hammering, you always get the stats as if you did all of the stars on that item.
Oh, okay.
So it's mainly just a cost and backups, and risk analysis thing. Not so much a gaining more stats for changing around thing. It's always a cost thing, yeah.
Oh, okay. Good to know. So major things to keep. I can always get root gloves and root boots from Magnus and CRA, so I don't really need to keep those too much.
No, and like we talked about, if you get to 17, you could pretty much stay on just 17 Abzo and work on a decent amount on the potentials. Those are probably the items where you can probably go for 2.5 lines, right? Go for 27 or 30%, something like that. And for the gloves, line of crit damage and a line of stat. And then you're golden on the Abzos. Maybe some of the flames a little bit more, but then those are fine. For the main risk and for the main star forcing is going to be high 140s for your superior Golok stuff, because replacing those is just insane to transfer hammer over, which means if that's the plan, then maybe concordantly look at the potentials and not go too hard on those. For CRA, you can go hard on those potentials because you're always going to have a bunch of backups, and the trace is always going to save all of that. So you can go harder there if you want to, but first go hard on the star forcing and then go hard on the potentials generally, just because of how expensive they are to get good potential lines on. In the higher tiers, they have a lot of junk lines in general. So that's why the order is a little bit inverse of what you would think is, what would be normally what you think, because of that. And then for the eye in the face, again, you just need the time to get the dineros to back up to go for those high risky plays. Plus, you have the extra expense of the Sweetwater pendant coming in, so there's going to be a lot of dineros that you want to have as backup. So where you take the first risk is where you have the most backups, and also typically things that are just more time sensitive to get the backups, like the superior and like the dineros, those will just they will get pushed back just because of that.
Yeah, it's just kind of intrinsically.
Yep.
Okay.
If you get lucky on the Kana rings, for example, for a month straight, you just get a drop. Well, then you can push that one forward and go for the higher risk on there. And then if you get lucky, then boom, you have your setup already for a higher star superior. And if you don't, you just push it back and rotate to it later.
Okay. Okay, simple enough.
Yeah, it sounds simple like that. Just
Yeah.
just get drops.
Yeah. Just be better at the game. Easy.
Yeah, just well, not even that. Just got lucky. That has nothing to do with
Yeah,
being
there you
good.
go.
It's just you got lucky with drops. Yeah,
There you go.
yeah. Sadly, it does come down to that a lot. But you know, it's like luck. Was like success is where luck meets preparation, right? Or like opportunity and whatever the calculation is, whatever the formula is. Like luck is definitely a part of it, but you have to set yourself up for luck.
Yeah. So at the point when I have a drop set of rings at legendary, or like drop and meso stuff, that's when I should look at re-rolling the Kana off meso obtained and onto all stat for damage.
I would say when you're trying to push past 17, because up until then, all the rings are kind of similar. Like these event rings, the other event rings, 17 stars, superior, reinforced, kind of Meister, like all of these are basically just like equal in how much damage they give you. It's all about like the utility on the potential. And then once you're trying to push towards the set bonus for superior or towards past 17 star, that's when it becomes more important to also dedicate their potential to the role in your kit.
Okay. That makes sense. Then I guess the last thing would be if I somehow get stupidly lucky on the weekend and get everything to 17, the thing I push past is probably the CRA then, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Because everything gets pretty much the same gains. Like any of the 150 stuff would get the same amount, 17 to 18.
Yep.
So
yeah, it just depends on the level of the item. If you're like star forcing past 15, yeah. Even the weapon and the glove will get like the same bonus. That's why comparatively it gets so good, Star Force, because everything just becomes mini weapons at a certain point. Like once you get to 20, 21, 22, everything is just running around with 100 weapon attack on it, and it gets pretty crazy. Yeah, it gets. Yeah, if you like calculate it, people are just walking around between like 3,000 and 4,000 weapon attack on their total account. Whereas like back in the day, it was like, well, your weapon gave you like 80 or something, or like 100 at the higher levels, and then that was all the weapon attack you got. And then there was like 2 base attack on a shoe, and it was like, oh my god, face stompers are crazy because there's 2 attack on them, right? Yeah.
10 attack work gloves. And
yeah, exactly.
Brown work glove shit.
Yeah, like the total attack on your account was like 10% more than your weapon. Like it was 110% of your weapon base, right? Like your stats as well. Like your base stats was like up to 1,000, and then with all the equips, everything combined, you could get to like 1,300 maybe, and that was like crazy godly gear. And now look at you, you're like at 1,200. Oh yeah, and the bonus stat of 20k from your stuff. And like, okay.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Because like my Adele is around the same point. My arcane equipment, like my symbols, give me over half of my total stat.
Jesus. Yeah.
And it's like, okay. It's like a little bit over 11. Yeah, like 11 and a half or something from symbols. And then my total is like 22. So it's...
Fuck.
the power creep on that is just nuts.
Yeah, it's fun to look at, but it's a little ridiculous thinking about where the game was at one point.
Yeah, it shifted the balance to a great extent to where you want to invest in and how important certain things are. Because before potential, you know, an equip was done pretty quickly. Just like scroll, get lucky on the scrolling, and that was it. And then potential comes out, and you can get, even on rare, you could just reveal 3% of your stat on like a potential, on like one line of one item. Like that was insane. And I was like, oh yeah, get things to 30%, and it's like, you know, how normalized that is now is crazy compared to, well, I mean, over a decade ago. Let's be honest, it's been a while since it was that crazy, but
yeah, definitely. Okay. All right, well, I think that's pretty much all I have then.
Okay.
Got an idea for the Terror Burnings. Legion is just kind of push up bit by bit at this point, now that I have 6k. Any advice for 200 to 210? Like, is it worth trying to do the dailies to make that a bit easier, or just get to 205 and go to Reverse City with hyperstats and Arcane Force?
Yeah, usually I think the power creep for 5th job with the Matrix is enough to be able to push yourself up to 205. It's something like Fez 2, or some people go into the Fox Valley, I believe.
Okay.
Those are like good enough areas, I think, to get to 205. The extra clear speed, depending on if you have access to totems or if someone could Kishin you, like that speeds it up a lot. And then like you said, for Reverse City, you don't have to do any pre-quests. You just walk in, talk to the NPC, go into Reverse City, and then you have access to the first 3 maps, which I think are fine for all any class can find a good map in those first 3, and they typically have very high level burn as well because people just walk past them. And then 205 to 210 there is pretty free.
Okay. Not worth going through the whole thing for the hidden research train or whatever that one is?
I think no, because the hidden research train is more popular, therefore it has more or less burning, right? More deterioration of the burning, and because and it requires actually a decent amount of arcane power as well, which would mean that you have to do the dailies to be able to clear there properly. Otherwise, the reduction. But the earlier map in Reverse City, I believe, just has like the 30 arcane power requirement as well. So as long as you have a little bit from your guild or just one symbol equipped, you're like golden.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess that's pretty much it then.
Okay. Yeah. If anything else comes to mind that you forgot to ask about, just hit me up on Discord. And as always, I'll upload it on YouTube so you can watch it back. Make sure you didn't miss anything important.
Perfect. I can hate my voice along with everyone else.
Yeah, it's always something to get used to.
Yeah. All right. Oh, thanks a lot.
Yep, no problem. And best of luck with Star Forcing and everything.
Sounds good.
Have
a good one.
Yes, you too. See ya.
Bye.
Bye. All right, coolio. All right, I think that was a nice, fast, productive session. Well, fast. I think we were right on time. Yeah, so if you enjoy that, I'm glad. Hopefully there were a few things that we talked about that maybe you didn't know about, or that rearrange your thoughts on some topic and help you progress through the game a little bit better as well. Something that gave you a little bit of an insight or an idea on what to work on next. As always, if you want one of these sessions, or you want to join the EU or NA guild that I have in Maplestory, or you have data for me in the form of battle analysis, monster skill per hour, or training videos in Tenebris. Monster skill per hour can be anything, anywhere in Arcane River. Links for all of that are in the description of the video. And I thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.